Hello, everyone. I'm Harini Sivakumar, founder and CEO of Earth Rhythm. On this beautiful day of Mother's Day, at Earth Rhythm, we wanted to bring in a guest and have this conversation with you guys as to how we mothers are redefining and building spaces for ourselves within this ecosystem that we live in, and with labels and tags called mothers, daughters, wives, right? So, allow me to introduce Ketki Arora from Femmella. She's building a beautiful fashion, women's fashion brand. Me being a personal customer of Femmella for the longest time now, I am so happy to have her here today. Hi, Ketki.
Hi, Harini. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Lovely. It's so good to be here with you today. And like I said, I've really loved Femmella. And I'm not saying this because we're here.
Yeah.
Honestly speaking, I think I've really had some good shopping experiences with
Don't worry, I'm
Femmella.
going to go back and look at the order history if you want it.
100%, you will definitely find it. So, Ketki, tell us about your journey so far. A lot of them out there would love to know the face behind Femmella, how you have built this brand, what was your journey, and how did you reach here?
Okay, so I'll start from the beginning, Harini. I was born in Ludhiana. When I was in the second grade, I shifted to the US for about 5.5 years. It was an overnight decision to come back to India by my father. Shifted here in 2004. I went to a boarding school and then I went to the UK for further studies. My plan was always to get into PR. So, took communications, thought I would do my master's, get some work experience outside India, and come back and start something in India. But unfortunately, destiny had something else in store. So I remember receiving this call, whether it was a call or a message, I can't recall now, but I remember my brother telling me that, listen, you need to come back and we need to do this together. So since then, I was just like, of course, So I was like, let's do it. I had absolutely no experience in fashion. I've never studied fashion. It was a huge challenge. And I remember my father just saying one thing to me, that you have to earn your place. Just because he had founded the brand in 2008, it did not mean I had the right to sort of take over. So I started from the bottom. We had manufacturing in-house. I used to literally stand in finishing for hours. Look at how a garment is being finished. Look at how a garment is being packed. I wanted to understand from bottom up, because tomorrow when I reach that position and I'm hiring people, I should know what is it that they're going to be doing. So I think that was a massive learning by my father, which I really hold very close to my heart till today. And I feel there's no job which is too small for you and nothing too big. You have to experience everything in order to grow. So that's been the journey. Me and my brother, we're fully involved in it now, and we both drive the business forward. My father's taken his seat back, and that's where we are right now.
Fantastic. So, so what I understand is you've always been that empowered working woman from the start, right?
Yes.
So, how has your life changed? I think you have a 2-year-old son.
I have a 2-year-old son. Yes.
Great. So terrible two toddler as well.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I want to know how has your life changed? And back then, before having a child, before being married, you working versus today being a mom wearing multiple hats. Has your life changed? If so, how?
Oh, it's changed in so many ways. But I'll tell you the biggest learning. Before you become a mother, you don't value the time that you have in your hands. After you become a mother, you realize I sometimes I sit with my husband and I'm just like, we had so much time before. What did we do with it? Because now I feel like I'm fighting for minutes in a day.
Right.
But the one thing that being a mother has taught me, I can be more decisive now. I think before then I would take time to dwell on decisions. I would be like, whether I should do this, I would have time to contemplate. Now I value my time more because I'm working in between. If he's napping for 2 hours, those 2 hours for me are crucial. I better make it count like 6 hours.
Right.
So, that's been the biggest learning, how to manage my time better.
Right.
Second thing is, of course, there's that constant guilt you feel being a working mother.
Right.
You're leaving your child behind, you're going to office, you're always wondering at the back of your mind, what is he doing? Is he all right? Has he had his meal? I think it's a battle that all working mothers fight every day, whether you're a business owner, whether you're a working mom. So I was just telling a very interesting story to my social media manager before arriving here, and I was telling her that I had to go into labor on Monday. Mine was an induced delivery. So Sunday evening, I was sitting and wrapping up all of my meetings because I was like, I had no time to take off and process. Something like a maternity leave does not exist in our books. When you're running your own business, you can never
Yes.
switch off. So I think It's a massive learning, it's a massive blessing, and at the same time, it is exhausting. But by the end of it, I think it's all worth it when you're creating something wonderful. And you have customers like you appreciating your work. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in this journey, definitely your dad founded the company, and you have your brother alongside you who's managing the business. How important do you think, or what important support system has played in your life? It can be even the smallest person, who's probably a nanny who's taking care of your child, to someone who is actually helping you manage the business. How has this entire journey been?
So I always tell my husband, my nanny is the most underpaid person according to me. So I think they do a lot for the kid. And
I think we women really, we think that nanny is one of the best part in our life.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No, so but going back to the support system, Harini, I am blessed to have a support system on both sides. At work, working with family members, they're always supportive of you. At home, my in-laws, my husband, they're extremely supportive. So I know I can leave my child behind. I have my husband's a very hands-on father, so that always helps.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm blessed over there, because I remember the first trip that I took after having Ivan. Ivan's my son's name.
Yeah.
And after I had Ivan, I had to go on a girls' trip. One of my best friends was getting married, and we had to do a bachelorette in Thailand. And I was nervous. Like right before going to the airport, I was telling him, I cannot do this. I will not do it. I'll just tell them that I missed the flight or something. I'm not going to go. And he pushed me. Okay. And I was so glad that he pushed me, and it's so unheard of. So I feel like that really helps a lot. Right? So I think I'm really lucky in that sense that I'm able to get support from both sides, and being in the same city, having my in-laws also here, having my family also here. So it really helps.
Do you think working with family members is good? Do you enjoy working with your brother? I mean, your brother's going to be watching.
I mean, listen, there's some days I think where we both just want to strangle each other. But it has its pros and cons like everything else. I think there's so much I learned from him on a daily basis as well. And I think by the end of the day, we both know we have to make this work.
Right.
We have to do this together.
Absolutely.
So it's having that pillar, that's a constant pillar there, which gives you confidence to do what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And I know you work with your father. So how is that?
Well, a little different from your scenario. Mine is a dad.
Yeah.
Dads are always dads.
Yeah.
And I think, my dad always thinks that, his daughter is still young.
Yeah.
So we are a perfect combination of, I keep on telling everyone in my office that my dad is my speed breaker.
Yeah.
Like, when I'm really aggressive and going so fast, he'd come and say, slow down.
Yeah.
Wait, think, don't do this.
Yeah.
So I think it's a plus and a minus.
Yeah.
I love working with my dad. Like you mentioned, I've learned a lot of things being around my dad.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, will I want to do this again? Nah. No. I'd probably not want to do this again, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Because it has its own plus and minus.
Yeah,
and dad being always dad.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this again. So, Ketki, now, what do you do about, what do you do when you want to do a self-care regime, or, probably what is your self-care mechanism? Simply, how do you take out time for yourself amidst all this busy schedule, and what do you do?
So, Harini, I feel like this is something which I need to work on. And I feel like usually before becoming a mom, it would be taking out time to go on a meal with my friends, or doing a date night with my husband, or just simply traveling, booking something for the weekend and going away. But I think ever since I've had Ivan, I have not been able to do that. Last time I think we did that was on my birthday, and I made it very clear to my husband to listen, for my birthday, this is what I want. I want to go away for 2 days. And I think that was the best thing that we did. Now, in terms of self-care, I'll start from the daily. So what I do is, once I put the baby to sleep, I just want to put on a face mask, oil my hair, just take some time and not do anything. Maybe read a book. And in terms of course, stepping out with your friends, I think, like going out with your girlfriends is the best therapy you can get.
Yes.
So now the one thing that I'm working on is like making time for that. But you tell me, what do you do with 2 sons?
Okay, for me, it's the journey has been very, evolving,
Yeah.
right? I think because if you know my story, Ketki, I was a homemaker straight up for 7, 10
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
So, from that space, I think back in the day, there was nothing called self care. To be very
Yeah,
honest with
yeah,
you,
yeah.
I was all by myself.
Yeah.
But I think once I started figuring out when I started Earth Rhythm and when I really wanted to take out time,
Yeah.
the self care journey was completely different at different stages of my life.
Yeah.
For example, when my kids were young, I took up fitness as a self care mechanism. I took up cycling very seriously. I did a lot of long distance cycling. I did Manali to Leh. I did
Yeah.
Kashmir to Kanyakumari. I did so many
Yeah.
cycling trips, and those were my ways to recharge myself and feel powerful, come back,
Yeah.
and get back to work, get back to
Yeah.
home and stuff like
Yeah.
that. These days, I think this was at a time when my kids were still 5, 6.
Yeah.
Today they are 14 and 11. They're quite grown up.
Yeah.
I think today, if you ask me, traveling and food is my self care mechanism, right?
Yeah.
A good proper home cooked meal
Yeah.
with Netflix on is my self care
Yeah.
mechanism.
Yeah.
Or probably I've learned also to train my children to be on their own so that I can take out time for myself, which is very, very important in today's scenario, I feel. What I mean is, I travel a lot, and probably for work or probably for my own, exploration
Yeah.
journeys, trips that I take.
Yeah.
But either ways, I ensure that my boys are on their own so that I get out and I don't feel guilty.
Yeah.
Now, that leads me to the next question,
Yeah.
guilt tripping, right?
Yeah.
The reason why I'm bringing up this topic is, Ketki, a lot of women,
Yeah.
right? Big or small, whatever age group, a beginner mother or a super, experienced mother, all
Yeah.
of them go through guilt tripping.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you
Absolutely.
deal with guilt tripping? So when such things come, when society talks, when
Yeah.
people talk, and when
Yeah.
you yourself feel
Yeah.
guilty about doing certain things, how do you deal with it?
So I think it's a constant battle. I think I wish there was a simple solution over here where we could be like, this is how you deal with it. But I think it's something you have to keep working on a daily basis. And you have to remember that this is something that you're doing for your kids and for yourself. And it's so important to take care of yourself as well. A happy mom is equally important to raise a
Absolutely.
happy child.
Yes.
And I'm a true believer of the proverb, Harini, that ideal mind is a devil's workshop.
Right.
And I keep telling my mother also that, and I feel like even if you don't want to work, keep yourself busy. Whether it's taking up fitness, whether it's taking up any activity, but keep yourself busy. Just don't let negative thoughts enter your mind. And it's only natural that it happens. In today's day and age, we're so consumed by social media that when you're sitting idle for 5 minutes, you tend to pick up the phone. And there's a subconscious comparison which takes place. What is that person doing in their life? Why am I not there? And I just feel like it's so toxic that we all need to have our own journey. We all need to appreciate what we have. We all need to count our blessings. We all need to figure out that it's a blessing to be able to work.
Absolutely.
It's a blessing to be able to say that I'm a proud owner of a brand.
Yeah.
It's a blessing that I have a healthy child. So, for me, this is how I block it out. I don't want to be taken up by guilt trip. Yes, back in the day, mothers were just meant to sit at home and work. And believe me when I say this, being a homemaker is not easy. It's a full-time job.
Yes.
Right? So
Been
that,
there.
so that in itself is a full-time job.
Yeah.
It's what makes you happy.
Yes.
I feel like if I am happy, my child will be happy. I want him to see that he had a working mother who chased after her dreams, who didn't give up her passion. I hope to teach him stuff as well. Tomorrow he's going to grow up and find a partner, marry, have a family of his own. I want him to be supportive of his wife. So I feel like we have to break the cycle. So that's the
Absolutely.
only way I block out the mother's guilt.
Fantastic. And I can so much resonate to this because in my journey, Ketki, I think I've also, I've gone through a lot of emotional roller coaster when it comes to guilt tripping, right?
Yeah.
Because I come from the south of India.
Yeah.
Pretty much, it's safe to say that, a tad bit more conservative when it comes to the northern part of India.
Yeah.
And, I've constantly lived in this guilt that, stepping out of the house itself made me feel guilty, let alone working or anything, right?
Yeah.
And from there to today, where I am, I think I've learned to, understand what is important and how do you prioritize things in life, right? Now, that brings me to the next controversial question. Family or work? What comes first for you? I know this is a little tricky, but what comes first?
See, I'll be very honest, family. Because with work, also, family is so close to me. And I feel like where I've reached in work, it wouldn't be without my family.
Right.
Even though me and my brother, we take this forward, it's my dad who's taught us so many things ever
Right.
since we were little, whether it's value for money, how hard is it to earn your own money in
Right.
terms of versus spending it, right?
Absolutely.
So being in the US, I remember it's a very common culture in the United States, where you're doing chores and you're sort of getting pocket money in return for it. At a young age, it's parents' ways of teaching your child how to value money. How difficult is it to just earn that $20 or $40? And I very clearly, this one memory is so vivid in my mind where I would work for X number of hours with my father, doing whatever task, whether it was at home or in his office, and he would take me to the mall right after. And, he would stand outside and he would have that patience for me to shop around with the money that I earn. So since then, I feel like I execute that in my business as well, right? I'm so careful about how we increase our expenses because I understand the value of money. So I feel like for me, family comes first.
Fantastic.
And for you?
Okay, for me, if you would count building your own company is your brand is your own child, then probably work.
Yeah.
Because
it is though. It requires the same amount of effort.
Exactly.
And work, right?
So, I've built Earth Rhythm from scratch. So, which means that it's my first baby as well. So, for me, it's actually on a lighter note, I think on a serious note, I would say that, it's equal, right? For me, it's why I would say that is, Ketki, today what I am is because of Earth Rhythm, right? It's given me so much confidence. It's given me so much of, a lot of things that, you really, I was trained and I was brought up in an environment where you're taught to think that, education is the end of the world. You do that MBA, get that 7-digit salary, chase after those fancy titles like VP and, SVP, VP. And, I was trained to think that way. And for me, starting my own company, and today I'm grateful for where I am today, and I think that's simply because Earth Rhythm happened, and I really value that part of my life. So yes, so for me it's equal. While my family and my kids are everything to me, I would actually say Earth Rhythm would probably be another baby in the family. So
of course.
And next question that I was wanting to ask you is about the fancy labels that we have for we mothers, right? Personally, I'm against it, Ketki, because I think that a lot of times even that feels very discriminative to me. Generally moms are labeled as mompreneurs and whatnot, womenpreneurs. You have so many n number of titles. Do you feel really celebrated because of this?
I don't, and I'll be very honest why. Not just before becoming a mom as well. I remember when I started my journey working and being in a room full of men, for example, whether if I was traveling to Bangalore, wherever, you sort of felt like you were always the person who was not taken seriously in the room simply because you were a woman, right? And I felt that. I felt like I had to earn that respect. And I felt I was also giving into it. I would always take the back seat. I would be scared to voice out my opinions. I would be scared to get out there. Then I realized why. Because I am letting them sort of continue that same behavior, not just with me, with XYZ, whoever comes into that meeting room. So for me, I think all this is faff. I think we all women need to stop underestimating ourselves. We need to voice out our opinions. It's an opinion. It doesn't matter what it is. Voice it out, right? And demand that respect because we deserve it.
Absolutely. I think even I've had such experiences, right? When go into the meeting, nobody asks a man, when I actually travel, to another city for a meeting, I've had this experience where, you enter the room and they're like, oh, you're traveling, so who's looking after your kids? I mean, imagine, would someone ask a man who's coming, for a meeting to a different city, who's looking after the kids? Nobody asks a man.
Exactly.
So when that pinches me, I don't think it's, right for me to take credit that, being celebrated as a woman entrepreneur or a mompreneur. So that is where I come from. So hence I wanted to, get your opinion on that.
I think we're entrepreneurs and let's leave it at that.
So being a female CEO, do you think that, you've been more efficient in taking decisions? Do you think that's, because I sometimes feel that, we women are, born multitaskers,
Yeah,
right? We can multitask,
definitely.
especially
Yeah.
with a kid in place. We've
Yeah.
become pros in
Yeah,
multitasking.
yeah.
So, do you think that you're more efficient as a woman CEO?
I hope so. I believe so. But definitely, I think this is a common trait that I see amongst all of my friends also. I think women are just so much better at multitasking.
Right.
We can go from one discussion to another discussion and leave midway and go jump into another discussion
Right.
without losing track of it.
Right.
So I feel like that's a big advantage that we all have.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I think this we talk about, like, and I think when we talk about wearing multiple hats, Harini,
Yeah.
I mean, it's no joke, to be honest. And I think it we deserve to be celebrated, not by these titles, but it's something that we need to do for ourselves.
Fantastic.
That's what I
I
believe.
so much resonate to
Yeah.
that point. I
Yeah.
think, yes, that's absolutely correct. One very controversial question, right?
Yeah.
Because both of us are CEOs. I just want to hear your view,
Yeah.
and then I'll give you my view as well.
Yeah.
What do you think about period leaves? Should women have it?
So my team is going to listen to this and they're not going to like it, but I don't think it's necessary, in my opinion. I feel, again, you're talking to someone. I was working 24 hours before giving birth. I was working from my hospital bed. So I don't think it's necessary. I think it can be, it's not something generalized. Not everyone's pain is that bad. Not everyone has a, good 4 or 5 days. Some people have, it's the first day is bad. For some people, it's the second day. It's very difficult to generalize it.
Absolutely.
I don't think we need period leaves.
Absolutely. I so much resonate to this. I'm glad actually
we used
you
to
said
have
the
all
same thing.
Saturdays working. Up till like a couple of years back, all the Saturdays were working. And I remember I used to have all the employees come up to me and they're like, we need Saturdays off.
Right.
Then I started giving second Saturdays off. And it was such a battle to explain to my father why we need to give Saturdays off. And then we turned to...
Oh my God, I can't tell you the battle that I had with my dad for
he was
Saturday
just like,
off.
but why? We've always been a 6-day working company.
Right.
So I was like, no, let's start giving second Saturdays. And it was every alternate Saturdays. And then finally, I remember it was such a massive discussion. And I was like, Dad, let's just do it. We'll work. And, like where in Europe, you're getting all these articles of 4 days working and all.
Yeah.
So I was just like, let's just do 5 days working. So finally, we reached that point. And I think that's a big success for us, for a family-run business, because we never switch off.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big success. Let's enjoy that for a while before we get into period leaves.
I think I completely agree with you. Right? Even I resonate the same thought process. At Earth Rhythm, we don't have period leave, to be very honest. And I think as a CEO and as a woman itself, I think that when we strive for equality in every single place that we reach, right? I think it's not fair also, right? I mean, there's always an option that an organization gives you to take an off if it's bad for you.
Of course.
But I think it shouldn't be like, a kind of a right that women can take, which probably I think is not something that I resonate with. So I'm glad about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Ketki, I have 5 quick questions to wrap this up with you. And I want you to just spontaneously give me the answer, whatever comes to your mind, right? Work from home or work from office? What do you prefer?
Work from office any day.
Okay. Saturday meeting or a Saturday out with your son?
Saturday with my son.
The next thing is, Ketki, what is your biggest learning as a mother?
To have patience.
Wow.
Yeah. It requires. I'm in terrible twos. So patience is the only thing that's getting me past it.
Absolutely. So what are those 2 things that you wish for women in today's scenario to change? What are those 2 things? Any 2 things which you think should change for women today? Or at least mothers?
We need to normalize working mothers. We need to normalize women giving their opinion out loud.
Right.
We need to be more accepting to it and listen to what they say.
Absolutely. Being vocal is the way to go.
Yeah.
And your advice lastly, because you are one mother who's been hands-on in getting back to work with full bang and building this company so strong.
Yeah.
So your advice to mothers who are on a break right now or new mothers who are trying to get back to work?
Set up a support system for yourself, whether it's a nanny, whether it's finding a family member who's okay with taking care of your child. Get back into work quicker than later because you won't regret it. And never underestimate yourself that whether you can do both the things.
Fantastic. Lovely, Ketki.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much for spending this time with us today
Thank
and giving
you.
all these insights. It was such a lovely conversation with you, Ketki.
Thank you so much.
I resonate a lot in a lot
Yes.
of ways in which,
Yeah.
working with family and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
But I also take back with me today that, how staying focused is very important,
Yeah.
right? Which I think in today's scenario, which I see that a lot of women struggle to
Yeah.
stay focused
Yeah.
and, chase after dreams.
Yeah.
Thank you and
Thank you so
happy
much,
Mother's Day
Harini.
to you.
Happy Mother's Day to you too. Thank you.